So the big sports news of the week involves Ohio State football coach Jim Tressel, someone who purports to be a man of character, high ethics, a man of faith, another one of those coaches with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And boy, haven't we here in Iowa had an interesting experience or two with coaches that talked about being men of character, men of faith, and with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Anyway, Jim Tressel, following in Steve Alford's footsteps, turns out to not be all he's pretended to be, at least in public, because we found out this week that Coach Tressel has been lying through his teeth for almost a year to his administration, to the NCAA, to the fans, to the media, to his players. You might remember that right before the Sugar Bowl back in December, it was revealed that star Buckeye Terrell Pryor and several other Buckeye football players had violated NCAA rules for receiving cash by selling off Buckeye memorabilia, which is not allowed under NCAA rules. It's an improper benefit. It's a major violation, in fact. And for this violation, these football players were suspended for the first 5 games, or almost really half the upcoming season. Now, at the time, Jim Tressel said, "Hear no evil, see no evil. I didn't know anything about this. And the minute we found out, we dealt with it right away. And I'm very, very disappointed in these players and what they've done to the fine reputation we have here at Ohio State. And the fact that they've helped to add on to the 367 minor violations I've committed since I took over in 2002. Okay, that last part he didn't say, but it is true. He's committed, Jim Tressel has, at Ohio State, over 300 NCAA violations since he took over in 2002. Rick Neuheisel called, he thinks that's too many. However, none of them are as serious as the major violation, the major ethical lapse Jim Tressel committed when it was revealed this week that he knew all about Terrell Pryor and his fellow Buckeyes' exploits and the violations they had committed months before it all went down. In fact, 7 months before we found out. He actually learned about it in April of last year. That's almost 1 year ago for those of you that went to public school. He knew about this all the way back in April, and he responded with silence. He withheld this information from the NCAA, from his own administration, from the media, from the alumni, from the fans, and he kept a hold of this lie of omission for almost a year until he finally came clean in another one of those teary-eyed apologies people typically only make when they've been busted. Now, what really disgusts me about this isn't so much that the guy's a cheater. It isn't so much that the guy's a liar, even though that's troublesome nonetheless. And I will admit, hey, I might have a little bit of a bias here, trying to be objective, but my favorite team was dragged through a national ringer for a year because they stretched too much at practice. Meanwhile, the Ohio State coach, he gets caught lying to the NCAA and his administration for a year. Now, and what's the penalty? A 2-game suspension? Now, if you ask me, the NCAA's got to at least suspend Jim Tressel, the coach, longer than the players, don't you think? If what they did was a 5-game suspension, how about the coach who's charged with being compliant with the NCAA lying about it? What should he be suspended? Des Bryant at Oklahoma State lost the rest of his eligibility as a college football player for the exact same thing, lying to the NCAA. But you know what makes me the most disgusted about this, that notwithstanding, is this is yet another example of a college football coach who purports to be some man of integrity, some football coach version of a man of the cloth, who again is dealing from the bottom of the deck. Same as Gene Chizik and what's going on at Auburn, and then Cam Newton's dad, who's a pastor of 5 churches, out there pimping his kid like some common street prostitute. And now Jim Tressel, man of honor, man of character, who lies about major NCAA violations for the last 11 months. Let's just do this for a pretty good rule of thumb. You don't have to be perfect, and nobody is. There's only been one perfect man in all of human history, and we hung him on a cross. But let's just play a whole new game. Let's try something new for a change. How about we try this? When you purport to be about a certain value system or a certain set of ethics, I got a great idea. Why don't you actually try your best to consistently live up to them? And when you fall short, how about being upfront and honest about that? I don't know, what's the word I'm searching for here? Repentant. How about practicing a little bit of that as opposed to lying and covering it up for 8 months? I'm Steve Deace. This is SteveDeace.com.